I shouldn't have come. The moment I stepped into that hall, I knew it was a mistake. Everything sparkled: chandeliers, champagne, laughter, but none of it felt real to me. I stood near the corner, holding a glass of wine I didn't even sip. My fingers tightened around the stem every time I saw her. "Ethan, you actually made it." Ryan's voice broke through the noise. He grinned, the same confident grin I used to trust. "Man, I wasn't sure you'd show." "I'd said I'd come," I replied flatly. "Congratulations, by the way." Clapped my shoulder. "It means a lot, really." "Lena wanted to see you, did she?" I asked, forcing a smile. "That's surprising." Before he could respond, I heard her laugh, the kind that once melted me. I turned. There she was, glowing in a silver dress, her arm hooked around his. Our eyes met for a moment, and something twisted inside me. She approached with that familiar arrogance. "Ethan," she said smoothly, "I almost didn't recognize you. You look different." "People change," I said. "Some faster than others." She smirked. "Still dramatic, I see." Ryan laughed uneasily. "Come on, Lena. Play nice." "Oh, I am," she said, turning back to me. "I'm just glad you're here. Closure's important, isn't it?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah, closure." Her gaze flicked to my empty glass. "Still can't drink?" she teased. "You used to hate parties." "I still do," I said. "But I guess I wanted to see if you were real." "Real?" She raised an eyebrow. "What's that supposed to mean?" "That you exist outside of memories," I said quietly. "That you're really the person who walked away." She laughed loud, sharp, cruel. Heads turned. "Oh, Ethan, you'll never move on, will you? Guys like you cling forever." The sound sliced through me. I tried to laugh too, but it came out hollow. "Maybe," I said, setting the glass down. "But at least I don't pretend to love people I plan to replace." Her smile froze for half a second. Then she leaned closer. "You always think love is some noble thing. It's not. It's survival. And you," she glanced at Ryan, "you never had the hunger." Ryan stepped between us. Hey, that's enough," he said, lowering his voice. "Let's not ruin the night." I looked at him. "Don't worry, I'm not staying long." Lena tilted her head. "Running again?" "No," I said softly. "Just leaving what's already lost." I turned to walk away, but she called after me. "Ethan, don't be bitter. Some people just outgrow others." I stopped mid-step. The hall fell silent for a beat, the music fading in my ears. "Yeah," I said, without turning around. "And some people shrink until there's nothing left to love." I walked toward the exit, the lights dimming behind me. Every step felt heavier than the last. My chest burned, not from anger, just emptiness. At the door, I heard faint laughter again, distant but haunting. Hers, it followed me like a curse. Outside, the night air hit cold and sharp. I pulled in a deep breath, the kind that hurts on the way out. Streetlights blurred in the drizzle, painting gold streaks across the pavement. I loosened my tie, staring at my reflection in a passing car window. I barely recognized the man staring back, eyes tired, mouth tense, heart still bleeding. "Why'd you go, idiot?" I muttered under my breath. "Because I wanted her to see me," a small voice answered. "Because I wanted her to regret it." I leaned against the railing, trying to calm my thoughts. A soft voice came from behind. "You shouldn't let her get to you." I turned. A young woman stood under the awning, holding a tray of glasses. Her eyes were warm, almost familiar. "Sorry," I said. "Didn't mean to block the way." "It's okay," she said quietly. "You handled her better than most would." I frowned. "You saw that?" She nodded. "I see a lot. I'm her sister. Remember?" "Sophie," I blinked. Sophie Reed. She'd been a shy teenager the last time I saw her. Now she looked poised, mature, nothing like Lena. "I didn't recognize you," I said. "People change," she replied with a small smile. "Some faster than others." Her words mirrored mine, and for the first time all evening, I smiled genuinely. "Touché." Sophie tilted her head. "She was wrong, you know. You can move on. Maybe, I said, glancing back at the hall. But not tonight, and maybe tomorrow, she whispered. I watched her disappear into the light, her calm voice lingering in my mind. I turned back to the rain, exhaling slowly. Lena's laughter still echoed faintly inside, but beneath it, something new, stirred quiet, steady, alive. One day I whispered, "She regret every word." And that night, for the first time in months, I meant it. Asterisk, I still remember the smell of rain that Datha, campus courtyard, soaked. The bench is empty, the world feeling too heavy for me to carry. That was the day she first spoke to me. "You always sit here alone," she said, her umbrella hovering above both our heads. "I like the rain," I replied. "It's quiet. Doesn't expect anything." She laughed softly. "That's depressing." "Honest," I corrected. That was Lena, bright, curious, and bold enough to talk to a broken stranger who'd lost both parents 2 months earlier. I'd been drowning in silence until she arrived. "You should come to class," she said. "You've missed half the semester." "I can't focus," I muttered. "Then let me help you," she offered. "I'm good at dragging people back to life." She did. At least that's what I believed back then. We grew close fast. Late-night study sessions, cheap pizza, long walks where she told me her dreams. She wanted to travel, own a fashion brand, live in cities that never slept. I wanted peace, family, something simple. She said we balanced each other out. "Ethan," she told me one night, lying under the stars, "you make me feel safe." But sometimes safe feels small. I smiled, thinking it was a compliment. I didn't realize it was a warning. Years later, after graduation, I was working 2 jobs to support us. She'd started modeling for small brands, restless but still mine. One evening, I came home with takeout and found her staring at her reflection. "I hate this apartment," she said suddenly. "It smells like paint and failure." "It's just a start," I said, setting the food down. "We'll move when I can afford more." She turned, frustration burning in her eyes. "You always say that? 'Cause it's true." "I'm trying, Lena." "I know," she sighed, softer now. "But trying doesn't buy dreams." Silence stretched between us. That's when I first felt the distant something cold creeping into the spaces love used to fill. A few months later, my college friend. My brother in all but blood. He'd just landed a big job in marketing, smooth and confident as always. "Damn, Ethan," he said, looking around our place. "You're living tight, huh?" I laughed awkwardly. "Yeah, but it's home." Lena smiled at him too easily. "Ryan, right?" "I've heard stories. Good ones, I hope," he joked, flashing that grin. "Mostly." She smiled back. I saw the spark between them. I ignored it. That's what trust does. It blinds you politely. One night, I caught them talking on the balcony, Ryan said. "You deserve better than this grind." She whispered, "Don't say that." "I mean it," he said. "You could have the world, Lena. I already have someone." "You?" I froze in the hallway, heart pounding. When I stepped out, they fell silent. "Everything okay?" I asked. Ryan smiled too quickly. "Yeah, man. We were just talking." Lena nodded, eyes a little too bright. "Just talking." I wanted to believe them. I really did. Weeks passed, but something inside me cracked. She stayed out late for work. Ryan stopped visiting. My messages went unanswered. Then, one night, Daniel called. "Ethan," he said quietly, "I don't know how to say this, but..." I saw them together. My throat tightened. Together? At the restaurant downtown. They weren't exactly hiding it. Didn't say anything. I just hung up the next day. I went to Lena's place. She opened the door, startled. "Ethan, is it true?" I asked. She hesitated, then sighed. "I didn't mean for it to happen, so it did happen. It wasn't planned," she said weakly. Ryan just what? Offered you what I couldn't?" She flinched. "You don't understand, Ethan. I need more than love. I need a life." I stared at her, feeling my chest collapse. And I wasn't enough for that life. Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't move. You deserve someone who can make you proud, she whispered. I was proud, I said quietly. Just not of what you became. She looked away, guilt flickering and dying behind her lashes. I stepped back. Don't worry. I won't make a scene. You've taken enough. What do you mean? You took everything that was still good in me. That night, I sat in my car until sunrise. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just watched the city lights fade into morning. Something inside me had gone silent. That silence stayed for months. People called it heartbreak. I called it survival, because after you've given someone your world, they hand it to another man. There's nothing left to feel, only the echo of what used to be love. The weeks after Lena felt like fog gray, endless, suffocating. I'd wake up, go to work, come home and stare at the ceiling until morning. I wasn't living. I was just existing. One afternoon, Daniel dropped by my desk and frowned. Man, you look like death. I'm fine, I muttered, typing nonsense into my report. Fine, he repeated. Right, that's what every broken guy says before adopting a cat and naming it Regret. I smirked weakly. You're hilarious. I'm serious, Ethan. You've been a ghost since the breakup. Go outside. See people. Out! Eat something that's not instant noodles. I sighed. Maybe this weekend. Good, because I'm done talking to your corpse version. He grabbed his coffee and walked off. That weekend, I forced myself out. I ended up at a small cafe near the old university quiet place, soft jazz. It's the kind of spot where memories sneak up on you. I ordered black coffee and stared at my phone, pretending not to think. That's when I heard a familiar voice. Ethan? I looked up. Sophie read, Lena's little sister. Only she wasn't so little anymore. Her hair was shorter, her eyes calmer, her presence different. Sophie, I said, blinking. Oh, it's been years. She smiled gently. You look surprised to see me. I just didn't expect anyone from that family, I said awkwardly. I get that, she said softly, sitting across from me. Mind if I join you? Sure, I said. Just promise not to talk about your sister. I wasn't planning to, she smiled faintly. I'm kind of mad at her myself. That caught me off guard. You're mad at Lena? She stirred her tea slowly. She hurt someone who didn't deserve it. That bothers me. I looked away. You don't have to say that. I know, she said. But it's true. Silence hung for a moment, filled only by the soft clink of spoons and distant chatter. She doesn't deserve your loyalty, Sophie added finally.
Yay.
You gave her more than she ever gave back. Something in her tone, calm, certain, hit deeper than I expected. You sound sure about that. I watched it happen, she said. I saw how you looked at her and how she looked past you. Her honesty startled me. You always saw more than you said, didn't you? She smiled. That's the benefit of being invisible in your own family. I chuckled quietly. I wouldn't call you invisible, and you didn't pay much attention back then. She wasn't wrong. Back then, she was just Lena's quiet sister, the girl in the background. Now, sitting across from me, she felt real. Present, we talked for hours. About work, music, dumb college memories. She told me she worked part-time as a graphic designer. I told her about my dull office life and Daniel's constant nagging. She laughed off and soft, genuine, like she actually cared at one point. She said, you know, I thought you hated us. I did, I admitted. Maybe not you, but the name Red made my stomach turn. I get it. She looked down. But hate doesn't heal. It just keeps her in your head longer. Her words lingered like warmth after winter. You talk like you've lived through it. Different story, same ache, she said simply. I watched her for a long second. You've changed. So have you, she replied. You just haven't noticed yet. When I left the cafe that evening, the air felt lighter. For the first time in months, I wasn't drowning. The next few weeks, we kept running into each. Others sometimes by chance, sometimes because one of us just happened to be there. At lunch one day, Daniel caught me smiling at my phone. Hey, who is she? Nobody, I said too quickly. He raised a brow. Liar, I haven't seen you grin since before Hurricane Lena hit. I rolled my eyes. It's Sophie. Da-da, Lena's sister. He froze mid-bite. Her sister. Don't start, I warned. Oh, I'm starting, he said. That's chaos wrapped in karma. It's not like that, I insisted. She's just different. She listens. He smirked. You sure you're not confusing therapy with romance? Positive, I lied. That night, I replayed our conversations in my head, the way Sophie looked at me when I spoke. How her laughter filled the quiet spaces Lena used to leave cold. I told myself it was nothing. Friendship, a harmless connection. But deep down I knew better. When I saw her again that weekend, she waved, that soft smile tugging at something I thought was gone. Coffee again? She asked. Always, I said, and when she laughed, I realized it wasn't pain I felt anymore. It was the terrifying, beautiful sound of something being rebuilt. Still, I reminded myself, don't fall. Because falling for your ex's sister? That would be madness. Or fate. Asterisk Sophie and I started spending more time together, casual meets that turned into long walks, late-night calls, and laughter that filled the cracks Lena left behind. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. She listened when no one else did. She didn't try to fix me, she just stayed. One evening, we sat by the riverbank, city lights reflecting off the water like scattered fireflies. She sipped her coffee and said, "You seem lighter these days." "Maybe I'm just better at pretending," I said. She turned to me. "You don't have to pretend with me." Her words lingered in the air. No one had ever said that to me, not even Lena. I chuckled softly. "You're too kind for your own good." "Or maybe I just know what pain looks like," she replied. There was something in her tone, quiet understanding, not pity. It made my chest ache in a way that wasn't entirely painful. I looked at her and asked, "Do you ever think people meet for a reason?" She smiled faintly. "Always, but sometimes the reason hurts before it heals." I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because part of me wondered if she was the reason I'd been broken, to find someone who could see the pieces and not flinch. Weeks passed. She'd text me memes in the middle of meetings, call just to say she'd missed our coffee spot, or drop by my office with lunch because you probably forgot to eat again. Daniel noticed, of course. "You're smiling at your phone again," he teased. "That's what, the 5th time today?" I rolled my eyes. "You're counting now." He leaned against my desk. "So what's the plan here, Ethan? You gonna date your ex's sister and call it closure?" "It's not like that," I said quickly. "Then what's it like?" I paused. "It's real. She's different." "Different's good," he said, lowering his voice. "Just make sure you're not using her to prove something to Lena." I stared at him. "You think that's what I'm doing?" He shrugged. "I think part of you wants Lena to see what she lost. Part of you wants Sophie because she's the one who found you." His words stung because they were true. I didn't want to admit it, but deep down, I wanted Lena to see me happy. To see that I'd moved on, that she wasn't the center of my world anymore. That weekend, Sophie and I went to a small rooftop bar overlooking the city. The air was cool, music soft. She leaned over the railing, hair brushing her shoulders as she whispered, "It's beautiful up here." "Yeah," I said, but I wasn't looking at the skyline. She caught me staring and smiled shyly. "You always do that?" "Do what?" "Look like you're about to say something, but never do?" "Maybe I'm afraid of saying too much." "Or maybe you're afraid of feeling too much." Her words hit hard. I swallowed, then said quietly, "I told myself I'd never fall again." "Why?" she asked. "Because falling means trusting. And trust got me destroyed once." Looked at me for a long moment, then said softly, "You deserve to be loved right, Ethan." Those words simple, sincere, cut through every wall I'd built. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just looked at her, the wind tugging at her hair, the city glowing behind her, and thought, God, she's nothing like her sister. When I drove her home, neither of us spoke much. But when she stepped out of the car, she leaned in and said, "Don't let the wrong person keep you from the right one." Then she smiled and walked away. I sat there for a long time, staring at the empty seat beside me. That night, I opened my old photos, Lena and me, smiling in some expensive restaurant, pretending we were perfect. I didn't feel anger anymore. It's just distance. Then I saw a recent photo of Sophie, messy hair, wide grin, holding her sketchbook. The contrast made something inside me shift. Was I falling for her? Or was this some twisted form of revenge proof to myself, to Lena, that I could love again? I didn't know. The line between healing and vengeance was starting to blur. But one thing was clear. Sophie wasn't just helping me move on. She was changing what I believed love could be. Maybe that was fate. Or maybe it was karma, dressed as kindness. Either way, for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel broken. I felt alive, and that scared me more than heartbreak ever did. Months passed, but the memory of Sophie's words, "You deserve to be loved right," never left me. We'd grown closer since that night. What started as quiet comfort had turned into something deeper. Something I couldn't ignore anymore. When she asked me to accompany her to a charity gala her family supported every year, I hesitated. "You're sure you want me there?" I asked. She smiled softly. "If I can face them, so can you." Her confidence was contagious. But as I stood beside her that evening, hand in hand, walking through the grand marble hall, I couldn't shake the weight of what was about to happen. The chandeliers glittered above us, laughter echoing around. Then I saw her, Lena, dressed in silver, radiant, exactly as she always wanted to be. And beside her, Ryan. Our eyes met. Her laughter froze midair. Sophie squeezed my hand gently. "You okay?" "Yeah," I murmured. "I've waited for this moment longer than I'd like to admit." We walked toward the main floor, people greeting Sophie warmly. But I could feel Lena's gaze burning into my back. It didn't take long. She approached, her perfume hitting before her voice. "Ethan." I turned slowly. "Lena." Her eyes flicked to our joined hands. "You're with my sister." Sophie's grip tightened, but she stayed calm. "Good evening, Lena." Lena ignored her, focusing on me. "You can't be serious." I met her glare evenly. "You once said I'd never move on? Guess you were wrong." The silence that followed was almost beautiful. Conversations around us faltered. Heads turned. Ryan shifted uncomfortably beside her. "Ethan, this isn't funny," Lena said, her voice trembling between shock and rage. "I'm not trying to be funny," I replied. "I'm just living." Sophie exhaled softly. "Lena, please. We didn't plan this to hurt you." Lena's jaw clenched. "You think that makes it better?" "You took him from me." Sophie's calm cracked just a little. "You left him, remember? You made your choice." Ryan finally spoke, voice low. "Lena, maybe we should." She cut him off sharply. "Stay out of this, Ryan." I couldn't help a bitter laugh. "Funny. That's what you told me the night I caught you texting him." Her eyes widened, humiliation flickering across her perfect face. "You have no right to bring that up here. And maybe you shouldn't have made it public first," I said quietly. Someone nearby whispered. Another gasped. The room had gone tense. Ryan ran a hand through his hair. "Look, let's not do this now. This is a charity event, not a drama stage." "It's too late for that," Lena muttered. I took Sophie's hand again. "We should go." But Lena stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You think she's different?" "She's a Reed. She'll leave you too once she's bored." Sophie flinched. I felt anger rise, but I kept my tone steady. Maybe, but at least she didn't pretend to love me while looking for someone richer. That shut her up. We walked away. My pulse was pounding, but I didn't look back. Not once outside, the cold night air hit me like clarity. Sophie exhaled shakily. "That went worse than I hoped?" "Actually," I said, managing a faint smile, "it went exactly how it needed to." She looked at me. "You didn't have to defend me like that." "I wasn't defending you," I said softly. "I was defending what's real." She smiled faintly, though her eyes shimmered. "You're going to regret this, you know?" "She'll make sure of it. Let her try," I said. For once, I'm not scared of her anymore. We stood there in silence, the city lights glowing beyond the parking lot. Then she reached for my hand again. "You really meant it, didn't you? About moving on?" I looked at her, the sincerity in her gaze grounding me. "Yeah, but it's more than that. Being with you. It's not about revenge anymore." Her expression softened. Then what is it? I hesitated, then whispered, It's peace. She smiled, leaning her head on my shoulder. For a while, I forgot about the chaos waiting inside. The whispers, the stares, the gossip, it all faded into background noise. But as we drove away, a part of me knew this wasn't over. Lena Reed wasn't the type to lose quietly. I could already imagine her fury brewing, her pride wounded. And deep down, I wondered if tonight had lit a fuse I couldn't control, because revenge might have started this story, but love real. Quiet love was about to test how far I was willing to go. Asterisk, I knew Lena wouldn't stay quiet. The moment she saw me with Sophie, her pride shattered like glass and she was already trying to piece it back together the only way she knew how, by breaking someone else. It started with a message from Sophie. Can we talk? Her tone felt different, heavy. I met her at the small park near her apartment that evening. She stood beneath the old lamppost, her arms folded tight around herself. What's wrong? I asked. She hesitated. Lena came to see me today. My stomach dropped. Of course she did. What did she say? That you're using me, Sophie whispered. That I'm just part of some revenge story you're writing in your head. I took a step closer. You don't believe that, do you? Her eyes darted away. I don't know what to believe, Ethan. You never really told me why you wanted to come to that event with me. Was it really about a sore? Was it about showing her? I sighed. Both, I admitted. I wanted her to see me happy. I wanted to prove I wasn't broken anymore. She looked at me like I'd just confirmed her worst fear. So, she was right. Shit. No, I said quickly. You're twisting it. I never used you. She took a shaky breath. Then tell me what I am to you. The question cut deep. You're the first person who made me feel alive again, I said. You listened. You cared when no one else did. Her voice trembled. Then why does it feel like I'm just filling the space she left? I froze. The honesty hurt because it wasn't entirely wrong. I won't lie to you, Sophie. At first, maybe that's what it was. I was lost. Angry. I didn't know what I wanted. But now, it's different. She shook her head, tears glinting under the lamplight. You're not sure. You think you are, but you're not. Sophie, please no, she said, voice breaking. I can't be someone's cure. I can't be your way of proving something. My throat tightened. You're not a weapon to me, Sophie. Then why does it feel like one? She whispered, turning away. I reached out, but she stepped back. I just need time, she said softly. To figure out what's real. Then she walked away, leaving me under that flickering light. My heart twisting between guilt and fear. Days passed without a word from her. Work felt empty again. My apartment too quiet. Daniel noticed. You look like hell, he said, dropping into the chair across from my desk. Thanks, I muttered. Trouble in paradise? She thinks I'm using her, I said. Because Lena told her that? Daniel whistled low. Classic manipulation. You really think Lena's done with you? She's never done, I said bitterly. She only stops when she feels like she's won. He leaned forward. Then stop letting her play the game. I'm trying, I said. But Sophie doesn't deserve to be caught in it. Then make her see who you are. Not what Lena says you are. His words stuck with me. But before I could fix things, something else happened. Something that almost felt like justice. A week later, I saw Ryan outside a restaurant downtown. He wasn't alone. The woman with him was definitely not Lena. They were holding hands, laughing, careless. I didn't say a word. I just watched from across the street, Karma, I thought. It always finds a way. That night, social media did the rest. Photos, whispers, then silence. Within days, people were talking. Lena stopped posting her perfect pictures. Ryan stopped showing up to events. It was all falling apart, just like we had. When I saw her a few days later, she looked smaller. The shine in her eyes was gone. You must be happy now, she said bitterly. I met her gaze. No, Lena, I'm just done. She tried to smile, but it trembled. He said he loved me, she whispered. So did I replied. Now you know how it feels. She looked away, tears forming. You think this is karma? I don't know, I said quietly. Maybe it's just life. I left her standing there, her perfect mask finally cracked. That night, I sat alone on my balcony, staring at my phone, wondering if Sophie would ever call. I'd wanted justice. Maybe I'd even gotten it. But as the city lights blurred through the mist, all I could think about was her voice, gentle, unsure, asking, "What am I to you?" And for the first time, I realized revenge didn't heal anything. It only reminded me of the wound. The internet exploded before the city even woke up. Ryan Carter, perfect fiancé, golden boy. My old friend caught in a hotel lobby with someone who wasn't Lena. By noon, every gossip site had the photos. By evening, every whisper had turned into laughter, and Lena read. The woman who once laughed that I'd never move on was trending for all the wrong reasons. Daniel dropped a newspaper on my desk. Guess karma works fast. I didn't smile. Yeah, too fast. He studied me. You're not enjoying this? I thought I would, I said. But watching someone drown if they once pushed you underwater, it doesn't feel like victory. He leaned back. You're too soft, man. Maybe, I said quietly. Or maybe I've just been there before. That night my phone buzzed. Lena Dot. For a long minute I just stared at her name. Then I answered, her voice cracked through the speaker. Ethan, please. I need to see you, Lena. Just one conversation, she begged. Please. Against every instinct screaming no, I agreed. We met at the small riverside cafe we used to go to in college. It was almost empty now, just the hum of the city and the flicker of neon reflections in the water. She sat at the corner table, sunglasses hiding swollen eyes. When she saw me, she tried to smile, but it broke halfway. Thanks for coming, she whispered. I nodded, sitting across from her. You said you needed to talk, she exhaled shakily. You were right. About everything? About Ryan? She nodded, her lips trembling. He used me. He said he loved me, but it was all convenience. He was cheating for months. I didn't want to believe it. I watched her hands tremble. Now you know how it feels. Her eyes filled with tears. I do, and I hate that I do. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. The anger I'd carried for so long, the bitterness. The resentment should have been enough to make this moment satisfying, but it wasn't. She looked smaller. Fragile, human. Everyone's turned their back on me, she said quietly. Even my friends. I thought, maybe you'd understand. I leaned forward slightly. You humiliated me, Lena. You broke something in me that I didn't think could be fixed. I know, she whispered, and I'll regret it forever. She wiped her eyes quickly, like she was ashamed to cry in front of me. You moved on so easily, with Sophie. I told myself it was revenge, but she makes you better, doesn't she? I hesitated. She makes me real again, Lena nodded slowly. She always had that effect on people. I used to envy how calm she was. She's stronger than you think, I said softly. She gave a faint, bitter laugh. I used to think strength was pretending I didn't care. Turns out it's the opposite. Silence hung between us. Finally, she said, I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. I see it now. Everything I did, it came back to me. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized how much we'd both changed. She wasn't the shining, confident woman from that engagement night. She was just a person who finally saw herself without the glitter. We all get what we give, Lena, I said quietly. That's not revenge. It's just life's way of keeping score. She nodded slowly, eyes wet. I'm sorry, Ethan, truly. I know, I said. And I'm not angry anymore. That surprised her. You're not? No, I said. I'm just tired. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered, I hope she forgives you. I frowned. Sophie. She loves you, she said softly. Even if she's confused right now. Don't lose that like I did. Stood up. Take care of yourself, Lena. As I turned to leave, she called out, Ethan. Yeah. Thank you for coming, she said, voice trembling. You didn't have to. I gave her a faint nod. Maybe I did. To let both of us move on? Outside the night was cool. I walked along the river, the sound of water mixing with distant city noise. I should have felt triumph. But what I felt instead was release. Revenge hadn't healed. The understanding had. And as I stared at the lights flickering across the water, I realized I wasn't empty because of what I had lost. I was empty because I still missed the one person, shown me what real love felt like, Sophie. Asterisk, the morning light crept through my blinds, painting faint gold lines across the floor. Something rested against my Duran envelope, soft beige, with my name written in Sophie's handwriting. My chest tightened the moment I saw it. I already knew what it meant before I even tore it open. Her scent lingered faintly on the paper lavender and something clean, like the way she always smelled after rain. My hands trembled as I unfolded the letter. I love you, Ethan, but I need time to know this is real, not born from pain. Just one line, and my world stilled. My breath caught somewhere between relief and heartbreak. She'd chosen honesty over comfort, something I once begged Lena for, but never received. I sank onto the couch, letter in hand, reading it again and again until the words blurred. Not born from pain. She was right. What if everything between us had been built on the ruins of what Lena left behind? Maybe Sophie saw something I didn't. Maybe she was protecting both of us. The apartment felt emptier than ever. Her laughter, her quiet hums while making coffee, the way she'd lean on the counter just to tease me, all gone. I stared at the walls, the photos, the quiet. It wasn't heartbreak this time. Which something deeper. Acceptance, maybe. I didn't text her. I didn't beg. I just whispered to the silence, "Take your time, Sophie." That night I stood by the window, watching the city pulse with distant lights. Somewhere out there, she was flying away, maybe, to find clarity, maybe to forget me. The old me would have chased her, desperate and afraid of being alone, but not now. Instead, I turned inward. I started running again, literally and metaphorically. Early mornings at the gym, long nights revisiting unfinished projects. My studio became my sanctuary. I poured my emotions into sketches, melodies, and scripts. Each one less about pain and more about rediscovery. Daniel noticed the shift first. "You're smiling again," he said one afternoon at work. "Am I?" I asked, surprised. "Yeah," he grinned. "You finally look like you're not carrying a ghost around." He wasn't wrong. For the first time in years, I wasn't living under someone else's shadow. Neither Lena's betrayal nor Sophie's absence defined me. I was just me. Weeks turned into months. Seasons changed. I found rhythm in solitude. I learned to enjoy quiet breakfasts, late-night drives, and my own company. Sometimes I'd catch myself thinking about Sophie not with longing but with gratitude. She taught me that love doesn't have to fill a void. It can inspire growth. One evening, I walked past the old cafe where we first met. The same window seat, the same soft music, the same warmth. I ordered 2 coffees out of habit, then smiled at my own foolishness. I sat there, sipping alone. It felt peaceful instead of lonely. I realized something profound. I'd spent so long trying to prove my worth to Lena, to the world that I'd forgotten I didn't need to. Sophie's letter wasn't a goodbye. It was a mirror. It forced me to see who I could be without the weight of revenge, regret, or validation. That night, I placed her letter inside a journal and wrote beneath it, "Healing is loving without needing." Maybe she'd come back. Maybe she wouldn't. But I no longer feared the unknown. The man I was becoming didn't chase closure, he created it. I stood by the window again, city lights reflecting in my eyes. Somewhere out there, Sophie was chasing her own truth. And here I was, finally standing still, not because I'd given up, but because I'd grown roots. As I closed my eyes, I whispered, "Thank you, Sophie." And for the first time since she left, the silence didn't ache, it smiled back. A full year had passed since Sophie left. Seasons came and went, and so did the noise inside me. What once felt like a wound had quietly turned into a scare, a reminder, not a prison. My life had settled into rhythm. Work flourished, my art found recognition, and for the first time, success didn't feel like compensation for pain. It just felt natural. That morning I woke early, brewed coffee, and stood by the window, the same spot where I'd read her letter months ago. The city looked softer somehow, almost forgiving. I'd learned to exist without expecting anything to return. That's when the knock came. 3 soft taps. When I opened the door, time hesitated. Sophie stood there, hair a little shorter, eyes brighter, carrying that same quiet strength that once anchored me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she smiled, small and familiar. Still waiting for me? My throat tightened. Always. We just looked at each other, 2 people who had weathered their storms separately and somehow ended up back in the same calm. She stepped closer, hesitating slightly, like she was afraid the moment would vanish if she moved too fast. "I wasn't sure you'd still be here," she said softly. "I wasn't sure either," I admitted, smiling. But I stayed. Her laugh was gentle, almost disbelieving. "You've changed. So have you." We sat inside the same couch where I had once read her letter. Only now, the silence between us wasn't heavy, it was warm. She looked around my place, noticing the small changes, framed sketches. Plants by the window, a calmer energy everywhere. "You really rebuilt yourself," she murmured. "I had help," I said, "even from people who weren't here." She nodded, eyes glistening. "Ethan, I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I needed to love myself first." I took her hand gently, and I needed to learn how to love without losing myself. Her fingers tightened around mine. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The past hung there, not as a shadow, but as something we'd both made peace with. "I used to be angry," I admitted quietly. "At Lena, at Ryan, at myself. I thought revenge would make me whole again. But it only made me hollow. You've taught me that love isn't about proving anything. It's about being." She smiled, tears forming. "You were never broken, Ethan, just unfinished." That line hit me deeper than I expected. I leaned back, exhaling. "And you helped me finish the story?" She laughed softly, wiping her eyes. "So what now? Do we start over?" I shook my head. "No, we continue. We're not who we were before. You and I both earned this." Her gaze met mine, full of understanding. "Then let's not rush it. Let's do it right this time." Dotted. There was no grand music, no dramatic declaration, just 2 souls finally walking at the same pace. I reached for the coffee mugs and handed her one. "2 new beginnings," I said. She smiled. "And 2 endings that taught us why beginnings matter." We sat for hours talking, not just about us, but about everything we'd learned. She told me about her time abroad, the people she met, the peace she found. I shared how I'd faced my old demons, not by fighting them, by forgiving them. When evening fell, the sunlight painted her hair gold. I couldn't help but think of that first day in the cafe, when she'd said she doesn't deserve your loyalty. No. Sitting beside her, I realized loyalty had found its right place, finally free from pain. As she leaned her head against my shoulder, I whispered, "Welcome home, Sophie." Her voice was a breath against my skin. I never really left. Outside, the city lights shimmered like quiet applause, as if the universe itself was exhaling. For once, love didn't hurt. It healed. And for the first time in my life, I didn't need revenge or closure or validation. I just needed this moment, the woman beside me, the peace within me, and the certainty that everything had happened exactly as it was meant to. Asterisk, the hall glowed golden. Soft music floating around us as I held Sophie's hand. My fingers trembled slightly, not because I was nervous, but because I couldn't believe it was real, this peace. This quiet ending I'd once thought impossible. Sophie smiled at me, radiant yet calm, her eyes carrying everything we'd been through. Pain, forgiveness, love. "Ready?" she whispered. I nodded. More than ever. The priest's voice echoed through the hall. Do you, Ethan Miller, take Sophie Reed as your lawfully wedded wife? My chest tightened. I do. When she said the same, the crowd's gentle applause blended with the faint rustle of rose petals falling. Everything felt still, suspended in the kind of silence that only exists in moments that change your life. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw her Lena. She stood near the back, almost hidden behind a column, wearing a simple dress. Her once perfect confidence replaced by something fragile human. For a second, time folded back. College memories, laughter, betrayal, all of it flashed through my mind. But instead of anger, I felt nothing sharp. Just peace. Her gaze met mine. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. I could see it in her eyes, the realization that this was the ending neither of us had imagined. Sophie's hand squeezed mine. Ethan. I turned back to her, smiling softly. Yeah, just saying goodbye to an old ghost. She didn't ask which one. She already knew. After the ceremony, sunlight spilled through the windows, bathing everything in warmth. Friends cheered, music rose, and laughter filled the air. Real laughter, the kind that heals instead of hurts. I looked around at the people who stayed through my storms. Daniel, my steady friend. Sophie's quiet family, and the life I'd rebuilt from ashes. Sophie leaned in, her voice barely audible above the music. You're thinking again. I chuckled. Just remembering how far we've come, she smiled. Then stop remembering for a second, and live it. I did. We danced slowly, her head resting against my shoulder. It wasn't grand or dramatic, it was honest. Every step felt like forgiveness. Every breath, a soft promise. Through the crowd, I noticed Lena still standing there, clutching a small bouquet she'd probably picked up from a table. Her expression was distant, almost wistful. When Sophie laughed, calling me husband for the first time, Lena's hand trembled. Her lips moved. I think she whispered my name, but I didn't go to her. She turned away quietly, disappearing into the sunlight outside. I didn't chase her. I didn't need to. For years, I thought closure meant confrontation. That peace came from watching the person who broke me suffer. But now, watching Sophie smile, I understood how wrong I'd been. Real peace wasn't about anyone else. It was about the silence in my own heart. Later that night, after the guests had gone, I stood alone under the fairy lights strung across the garden. Sophie was inside, laughing with her sister and Daniel. I could still hear her voice drifting through the open doors, soft, familiar mine. I took a deep breath, the air cool and clean. Somewhere out there, Lena was probably reliving what she'd lost, but I didn't wish her pain. I only wished her clarity, because she'd been half right. That night, she laughed at me and said I'd never move on. I never forgot her, or the boy I was when I loved her. But moving on, I'd learned, wasn't about forgetting, it was about forgiving. I whispered it to myself. A quiet vow beneath the stars. I forgive you, Lena, and I forgive myself too. A soft voice behind me said, talking to the stars again? I turned. Sophie stood there in her white dress, barefoot on the grass, eyes glowing with that calm warmth that had saved me. Maybe I said, just saying thank you. She smiled. Then say it to me, too. I stepped forward, cupping her face. Thank you. For showing me that love doesn't destroy, it rebuilds. She leaned in and kissed me, slow and steady. The world around us fading into light and silence, and as we stood there, two souls who had learned, lost, and finally found home, I realized the truth I'd been searching for all along. Some endings aren't tragedies. They're just beginnings written by wiser hearts.